Boom! Bloodshot eyes emitted a ruthless light as he shot his palm toward Yi Wuchen. Feng Jing Tian, why are you here? Suddenly, an astonished voice was heard from his side, causing the man to stop his hand from advancing further. His eyes became frantic as he hastily used his hair to cover his appearance. Mickey, here comes FJT. XD. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 409, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 1. Chapter 409, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 1. When she knew Lan Xin had failed, Lan Yu didn't wait for Feng Jing Tian to come knocking on her door and simply left. She even abandoned her biological parents so that she would be able to survive. If she could even abandon her parents to survive, then what couldn't she do? It was laughable that nobody had discovered her true personality. She similarly managed to be the hidden background master this time around and pushed Qi Rong out to be her shield. If it wasn't for Feng Jing Tian notifying her, Ru Yue wouldn't have ever guessed that she was the one pulling the strings. Lan Yu? She was Feng Jing Tian's fiancée? Yi Wuchen frowned slightly as he continued, doubtful. She shouldn't be that powerful from how you described it all previously. Wuchen, there are times when a negligible small fry can suddenly become a ferocious lion. Nothing is ever fixed. Weren't I the same? This world is full of possibilities, so we can't be careless. The previous Ru Yue was a trash. Her fiancé betrayed her before they even wed and her family abandoned her. But how was the current her now? Thus, she clearly understood that once a trash stumbled across a chance, they could become a genius in the blink of an eye. But it suffices to know who was playing behind the scenes. Ru Yue sniggered. If I hadn't guessed wrong, Lan Yu must be in the academy. No matter what sinister plots she threw out in the future, Ru Yue definitely wouldn't let them succeed. This was especially so toward a woman that plotted against her husband. Red robes flashed inside a dense forest. Feng Jing Tian flew from the sky and landed on the ground. Perspiration flowed down his enchanter-like face, emitting a glittering glow under the sunset. Suddenly, he felt a familiar aura behind him. He turned around to see a girl before him. With pupils contracted slightly, he exclaimed, Lan Yu. He would never be able to forget that face. It was she who had killed several people of the Feng family, including causing the spirit of the ancestor he respected the most since young to dissipate. Feng Jing Tian closed his eyes lightly. The scenes that happened that day flashed in his mind. He then opened his eyes. A bloodthirsty light flashed in his scarlet eyes. Feng Jing Tian, I didn't expect you would fall into such a state. You are already becoming a devil. You will soon lose your humanity and change into a devil that massacres people mindlessly. I don't know if it was what I did that day that stimulated you to activating the dormant demonic attribute in you. Lan Yu smiled and walked toward him. With her blue dress fluttering in the wind, it made her smile look increasingly gentle. She then continued, Mr. Feng, only I would be able to help you now. Feng Jing Tian smiled. With a bloodthirsty smile, he proclaimed, Lan Yu, even if Feng Jing Tian, dies, I will never accept your help. I disliked you from the start. Currently, my dislike toward you has intensified. You aren't comparable to a single strand of hair on Ru Yue's body. Lan Yu's gaze darkened. Even if she is married? Yes. Lan Yu's heart instantly sank to the bottom of the valley after seeing the man part his lips slightly to say that word. She could no longer hide her jealousy and anger. Feng Jing Tian, she must die then. There will be a day when I will devour her soul and take her place. That day isn't far. I'm just lacking an item. Once I obtain it, it will be her death day. Lan Yu smiled gently. Her smile was as soothing to people's eyes as usual, but her thoughts were incredibly ruthless. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads, redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 410, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 2. Chapter 410, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 2. Feng Jing Tian looked at Lan Yu. With a layer of gloom in his scarlet eyes, he asked, Lan Yu, what is the point in doing this? Why are you creating things out of nothing to spread those rumors? Feng Jing Tian, beg me. Once you do, I will tell you. Lan Yu smirked. She suddenly had the impulse to step on this guy that had always ignored her. Perhaps it was due to her love that changed into hatred. I hate him. I hate him ignoring and hurting me. I also hate him for giving all his love to another girl. Hence, I want to see to what step he go to for that girl. Feng Jing Tian's body trembled. He clenched his fist so tightly that it shivered. To him, this was naked humiliation. He really wanted to chop this woman into countless pieces for such humiliation. Feng Jing Tian, I will give you a chance to consider. Once you beg me, I will tell you my purpose in doing so. Otherwise, you will lose the chance to curry up favor with her forever. Lan Yu smiled with disdain as she said gently. Feng Jing Tian raised his head abruptly. With eyes as vicious as a wolf, his body trembled vigorously. At this instant, he finally felt what it was like to be helpless. Lan Yu, she's innocent. It is I that can find her that time. She didn't in the slightest want to stay in the Feng family. Why can't you let her go? If possible, Feng Jing Tian really wished that he hadn't done that. But now, it was impossible to revert everything back to before just because he regretted. If it wasn't for him, how could she have entered this abyss? It was all his fault. Feng Jing Tian, if you beg me, I will really consider telling you. Moreover, you are the one that entered my heart. I had loved you for so many years. How can I lie to you? Lan Yu smirked cynically. She purposely said that in a coaxing, gentle tone. If you don't beg me, I might do more things to the point that she dies without a complete body. Feng Jing Tian closed his eyes as his eyelashes trembled. He then opened his eyes after a long time and lowered his head. I beg you to tell me your purpose and to let her go. When he said that statement, it seemed to have used up all his might, but he was neither remorseful nor regretful. Feng Jing Tian, I didn't hear what you said. Moreover, you are too insincere this way. Kneel down and beg me. Lan Yu suppressed the trembles of her heart as she stared at the man before her. Feng Jing Tian, can you really abandon your pride for a girl? Yet, to Feng Jing Tian, it was clearly worth it. Moreover, if it wasn't for him, how could Lan Yu hate her to such an extent? He must do this if it could compensate a little for his wrongdoings. Pang! Feng Jing Tian went down on both of his legs as he knelt before Lan Yu. He placed his fists that he had clenched tightly on his thighs. It was as though he were suffering heartfelt humiliation and unwillingness as his voice was shaky when he pleaded, Lan Yu, I beg you to let Ru Yue off. If you do, I will do anything you want. Lan Yu didn't feel the expected elation when she looked at the man kneeling before her. It just made her heart creak and crumple in pain. The intense pain made her laugh crazily. It was as though by doing so, she could overwhelm the pain of her heart. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 411, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 3. Chapter 411, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 3. Feng Jing Tian, you unexpectedly knelt down to me for a girl. If Lan Yu wasn't seeing this personally, she wouldn't have believed the prideful Feng Jing Tian would kneel before her, abandoning his pride for another girl. Her smile became increasingly bitter. She had loved this man for such a long time, but he didn't mind placing down his status for a girl. His actions were like a blade mercilessly stabbing at her heart, causing her to feel like she was dying while she lived. Feng Jing Tian, she is already someone else's wife. She doesn't in the slightest want to look at you. Why are you still doing this for her? What is so great about her that she deserves your love? Feng Jing Tian's body shook as he closed his eyes lightly. He himself also didn't know why he was so madly in love with that girl, even up to today. When they first met, he had recognized the wrong person and placed her in danger for the sake of others. Moreover, he wanted to hurt her. He didn't expect Ru Yue to be the one he wanted to find. That kick of hers had made him think endlessly about her. Perhaps it was at that moment that her figure attracted him. It was just that sole act. Following that, he personally went to investigate her past. His heart then ached for her, for all the suffering she had experienced after listening to the reports. He was elated for her change in personality. Moreover, after detailedly investigating her, he understood more about her. That woman was different from all the other women he knew. She was strong and not feeble. She was more than willing to risk her life rather than to hide behind a man. She clearly could have just made Ji Wuchen deal with her enemies, but she chose the other path. This path was where she was willing to hurt herself and use her own strength to triumph over her opponents. He started to love her at that point. It was the first time for Feng Jing Tian that his heart raced for a girl. That scorching feeling was unforgettable from then to now. It was like the unease and longing a brat felt when he met his beloved girl. Lan Yu, you aren't me, so of course you won't know why I love her. Feng Jing Tian opened his eyes and his gaze landed on Lan Yu's face as he continued, you will never be comparable to her. So what if I abandon my pride for her? Moreover, this is what I owed her. She indeed won't look at me as that woman bears grudges. She could smile toward people she just knew, but she would never smile happily toward me. This was due to my task to kill her when we first met. If it wasn't that matter, she wouldn't have treated me in such a fashion. But if it wasn't for that matter, I similarly wouldn't have been able to meet and love her. Our meetings following that was me acting rude toward her, especially when I had confined her for my selfish desire. Feng Jing Tian exposed an enchanter-like devastatingly beautiful smile. The beauty of his smile hid the pain in his eyes. I had done so much to her. How can she treat me like the rest? When she was willing to forgive me and stopped casting that cold gaze at me for all the things I had done, I was already satisfied to the point that I couldn't wish for more, but furthermore, with his current appearance, how could he desire her? Just by thinking about her was an insult to her. Lan Yu's body trembled slightly after she heard his heartfelt words. This was the man she was deeply in love with. Yet, he still disdained the thought of being with her at this moment. He. Lan Yu chuckled lowly. She then looked down upon the man kneeling before her and said, Feng Jing Tian, didn't you want to know my reason in doing this? Alright, I will tell you, it is due to my hatred toward her. Why should I be in so much pain while she continues to live happily? I won't let her live so free and easy. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 412, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 4. Chapter 412, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 4. No. That can't be your reason. Feng Jing Tian stood up and stared at Lan Yu with scarlet eyes. He clenched his fist tightly and gritted his teeth until they crackled as he questioned, Lan Yu, tell me, what is your real motive for doing this? Lan Yu sniggered. Feng Jing Tian, what other motives do you think I have for her? I just can't stand her enjoying her life. I can't obtain your love, so I won't let her enjoy the warm feelings she gets from her husband. All I want is to break their relationship and make her feel despair and misery in order to have a taste of my suffering. Isn't this reason enough? She yelled crazily as she said that, tears gradually starting to flow down her face. At this moment, her heart brimmed with intense sorrow. Feng Jing Tian, didn't you kneel before me to know my purpose? Then I definitely won't tell you about the matter. Lan Yu. Feng Jing Tian gripped his fist and his entire body shook. He glared at Lan Yu with a pair of scarlet eyes. You are lying to me. This girl was lying to him. He definitely wouldn't believe that her final motive was just being jealous of Ru Yue. If there wasn't someone backing her, how could Lan Yu walk such steps? That person behind her would have the information Feng Jing Tian wanted. Tell me, what are your motives? Feng Jing Tian lifted his long, slender jade fingers as he mercilessly moved to grip Lan Yu's neck. His red hair seemed to dance bewitchingly in the wind. His blood-red eyes emitted a murderous intent. If not, I will kill you. Lan Yu didn't do anything and just let him grab her neck. She gradually lowered her head to look at the fair fingers around her neck before smirking in self-mockery. She always knew her life was as puny as an ant to him, but her heart still felt as though it had shattered into pieces at this moment. Feng Jing Tian, you aren't my opponent anymore. She raised her blue eyes and her gaze landed on the man's enraged expression as she continued, but I don't feel like killing you, as it would be too simple. I want you to crawl by the side of my legs as my slave. It isn't enough for you to just kneel. What I want is to completely smash that pride of yours into smithereens. You will then know what a mistake you initially chose. Lan Yu's voice shook when she said that. She then lifted her jade hand to smack the man's hands away as she looked heartlessly at the man before her. I will no longer love you from now on, and hatred shall take its place. I will destroy everything you want to protect. Love was deep, and so would the hatred be when it replaced it. It was precisely due to her loving this man too much that she now hated him this much. If he had been willing to tell her that the one he loved the most was her now, then perhaps she would have forgiven him. It was a pity that it was only her extravagant hope. Ha ha ha. Lan Yu lifted her head to laugh heartily. She no longer looked at the man behind her as she turned to leave under the moonlight. Stop right there. Feng Jing Tian was anxious. He wanted to pursue her, but suddenly an intense aura burst out from the girl's body. Boom! It struck his chest. His body was sent flying backwards and collided against a tree. That power, the light in Feng Jing Tian's eyes darkened slightly as he looked gloomy at the place her figure disappeared to from under the moonlight. A ray of light flashed past his eyes as he commented, that power has too weak a foundation. It seems to be the type of power gained when one possesses it by forcefully inserting it into the body. What happened to Lan Yu's body? He must pursue Lan Yu no matter what, as this was the only way to solve the puzzle. Teaser. No. That can't be your reason. Feng Jing Tian stood up and stared at Lan Yu with scarlet eyes. He clenched his fist tightly and gritted his teeth until they crackled as he questioned, Lan Yu, tell me, what is your real motive for doing this? Lan Yu sniggered. Feng Jing Tian, what other motives do you think I have for her? I just can't stand her enjoying her life. I can't obtain your love, so I won't let her enjoy the warm feelings she gets from her husband. All I want is to break their relationship and make her feel despair and misery in order to have a taste of my suffering. Isn't this reason enough? Mickey, yup, the title says it all. Tossed C4 at Lan Yu and activated it when it neared her after giving Feng Jing Tian a divine full-body protection spell. Mickey praised Feng Jing Tian as she tried to persuade him, Feng Jing Tian, you turned over a new leaf, away from being a bastard, so I will leave you with your life. Be gratified of your change? Now the next level is to try move on from being love-struck over the female lead and fall in love with another single truly good-natured girl. Mickey to readers, Mickey is slightly scarred by so many pretentious green tea bitches or White Lotus in this novel. Thus, the emphasis was on truly, tongue sticking out. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 413, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 5. Chapter 413, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 5. Wu Chen, the eldest young mistress of the city lord's manor, just sent an invitation for you to attend her birthday celebration tonight. What do you think? Mu Yue giggled faintly as she extended the invitation toward Yi Wu Chen. With a slight raise of her brows, she continued, but she wrote only your surname and name on the invite. Yi Wu Chen didn't even look at the invitation and simply tossed it to the side. He then embraced Mu Yue as a trace of annoyance appeared on his handsome and charming face. There isn't a need to care about a puny city manor. I disagree with that. Mu Yue shook her head and continued with a sly smile, Wu Chen, I suggest you attend that birthday celebration instead. Since Lan Yu is behind this, she will definitely appear there. Lan Yu was currently in the academy, but she didn't show herself at all. It would be really difficult to find her if they were to just blindly search for her in this enormous academy. That event would give them a chance. All right. Yi Wu Chen smiled as he continued, but my wife, you will be the in charge of this matter. Your husband will accompany you in doing whatever you want. What method of transportation should we use to head to the event tonight? Mu Yue's brows rose and, with a fake smile, she continued, how about making a commotion to lure Lan Yu in appearing? I will have Yan Jin capture some mounts for us in a bit. Nevertheless, you will be in for a surprise tonight. The birthday celebration of the eldest young mistress of the city lord's manor? All in all, Yi Wu Chen was just their target, so they most likely wouldn't be at peace tonight. Mu Er, I have you. How can those people with makeup-caked faces enter my eyes? Yi Wu Chen smiled charmingly. His purple eyes seemed reluctant to shift away from the girl in his embrace ever since they laid eyes on her. He just kept looking at her and it didn't seem he wanted to stop. He really wanted to just look at her from dawn to night. He would look at her in such a fashion for all his life and eternity. It was night. The moonlight was calm like water without ripples. Luxurious horse carriages appeared outside the clamorous city lord's manor. The city lord of Daemoon City, Dong Fei Ran, smilingly stood by the entrance, high-spiritedly inviting his guests in. Suddenly, a silver ray of light soared through the sky. Everyone tossed their gaze toward it. When they looked at the horse carriage that was charging over, astonishment filled their eyes. 2 cloud horses soared through the sky, rapidly dashed over to the city lord manor. There seemed to be clouds under the feet of the horses, making it impossible for people to shift their gaze away from the beautiful sight. Cloud horse. It's a rare cloud horse. It is really a pretty horse. I don't know who is so capable to sit on such a horse carriage. It really makes people envious of the owner of such horses. Cloud horses aren't powerful, but they are very difficult to catch. Moreover, one needs extremely good luck to meet them. How great would it be if I had 2 such horses? Everyone stared at the horse carriage. They anticipated the sight of when the owner of such an honorable horse carriage walked down from it. The carriage curtain was lifted and a pair of legs stepped out from it. Following that, a prestigious purple robe entered the crowd's gaze. The purple robe fluttered in the night's breeze. It was indescribably noble and charming. It was as though the man were a genuine royal, making everyone present lose their luster. Furthermore, when their gazes landed on the man's face, they knew what it meant to have an appearance astonishing to the point that it swept people off their feet. The man was peerlessly handsome. His face was sufficient to make people forget to breathe. The devil's snare pattern that covered half of his face enhanced his appearance. He looked divine. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 414, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 6. Chapter 414, Shameless and Despicable Lan Yu Part 6. More importantly, the man had an unusual pair of charming purple eyes that gave off a sinisterly cold aura, making people shudder even though it wasn't cold. Mr. Wu Chen, you have finally come. Dong Fei Ran was elated and hastily went forth to greet him. Since Yi Wu Chen has come, does this mean he is interested in my daughter? He was jubilant in thinking about the possibility. He couldn't wait for him to be his son-in-law. But the man didn't even look at him. He instead turned back toward the carriage and extended his hand to the girl within it. A pair of jade hands was placed on the man's hand. Her hands were as white as a scallion and was incredibly alluring. The girl's skin was so white that the veins of her fingers was naked to the eye. A white robe flashed in the night sky. The girl borrowed the strength of the man's hand to leap out of the carriage. Her hair fluttered in the wind, brushing against her peerless appearance. Mu Er, be careful. The man raised his arm to embrace the girl. He then meticulously placed her down as though she was a treasure. His purple eyes brimmed with happiness and a rare gentleness dwelled in them. That pair of purple eyes seemed to only accept the girl in his embrace. Dong Fei Ran's expression darkened. In the end, he walked toward Yi Wu Chen as a flash of sinister light flickered in his eyes. Mr. Wu Chen, I don't know who this lady is. My wife. Yi Wu Chen's gaze focused on Ru Yue. When he said those two words, a doting smile graced his handsome face. It was the type of smile that said he wanted to dote on her to her death. It led to a change of expression in several people at the scene. Similarly, some of the girls' hearts shattered. Dong Fei Ran chuckled and with glimmers dancing in his eyes, he continued, Wu Chen, since you are here the banquet should start. I shall introduce my daughter to you. I'm not bragging, but my daughter's talent and appearance are outstanding. She is also much more outstanding than the girl beside you. Once you see her, you will definitely. Yi Wu Chen raised his eyes and his purple eyes landed on Dong Fei Ran's face. His purple eyes no longer had the gentleness from when he was looking at Ru Yue as a sinister cold replaced it. No girl in the world is comparable to her. They don't even qualify to be her shoes. As for your daughter, Yi Wu Chen sniggered and commented heartlessly, even if she were naked, beggars wouldn't be willing to look at her. One of Yi Wu Chen's taboos was when people vilified Ru Yue. This puny city lord dared to compare his daughter to Ru Yue and even brazenly commented that Ru Yue was inferior to his daughter. How could Yi Wu Chen stand that? Dong Fei Ran's expression changed. He initially wanted to exaggerate the truth and make Yi Wu Chen interested in his daughter. Wasn't any man's first reaction when they heard there was a girl more outstanding than the woman by their side be to meet that girl, He had met several men of such kind, so he naturally grouped Yi Wu Chen with them. Lan Yu looked coldly at Dong Fei Ran at the house's roof beam. With a slight frown, she commented, that idiot. He can't even do such a simple job. The most important thing now is for Yi Wu Chen to consume that item before I can continue my plan. I didn't expect him to screw it all up at the start. People said he became the city lord through connections. It seemed to be the truth. If not, how can he be so brainless to such an extent? He is hopeless. Dong Fei Ran is too anxious. I don't know if it is a good or bad thing to pass this matter on to him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 415, Forced Marriage Part 1. Chapter 415, Forced Marriage Part 1. No matter how Ru Yue was, she was his wife. As her husband, how could he bear it when people vilified her? Wouldn't that be a question of his sight? Furthermore, how could the eldest young mistress of the city lord's manor be comparable to the woman by his side? Dong Fei Ran thought about the purpose of the event today, so he forcibly suppressed his heartfelt displeasure. With a stiffened smile, he tried to salvage the situation as he apologized, Mr. Wu Chen, I had overstepped my boundaries. How about heading in to attend the banquet now? Yi Wu Chen's gaze was sinister and cold, but he didn't continue to bicker with him. With a slight smirk, he smiled charmingly and replied, Ben Wang's mood is rather good today, so I won't continue to bother with you. If there is a next time, it will be the annihilation of your city lord's manor. When he turned to look at the peerless girl by his side, his purple eyes were filled with happiness as he said, "Mu Er, let's go." Ru Yue smiled and nodded. She was previously worried that Yi Wuchen would really destroy the city lord's manor in his fury. They had come here with objectives this time, so since they hadn't accomplished them, there were still a use for keeping the city lord's manor intact. In the luxurious banquet hall, a few maids carried in splendid dishes as they entered the hall. Everyone walked in and sat in their seats with the lead of the city lord. It was obscure as to whether this was done intentionally, but the city lord purposely placed Yi Wuchen's position near him. At that moment, a pink figure like a peach blossom entered from outside, momentarily attracting everyone's gazes. The young girl in pink clothing had an innocent and adorable appearance. There was a large butterfly knot tied at the front of her chest and coupled with a scallop necklace around her neck. She seemed to be a naive and innocent little girl. The young girl was about 15 years old. Her skin was white and tender. She had a doll-like face with an agate pair of large eyes. When her long eyelashes fluttered, a pure ray of light glimmered in her eyes. She was like an immature child, expressing an innocent smile. "Daddy, dot." The young girl walked before Dong Fei ran and twirled around at the center of the banquet hall. She giggled adorably as she asked, "How do you think I look today?" "Ha ha." Dong Fei Ran laughed and commented, "This is my daughter. Her appearance can enamor the world. She can easily suppress others' beauty, no matter how she dressed." When he said that, his eyes filled with affections. To parents' eyes, their daughter was the most outstanding and was incomparable to others. But it was sufficient for just him to think that, and it was quite inappropriate of him to say his thoughts at such a large event. There were several ladies that came to attend this birthday celebration. His words was akin to offending everyone. Put. Suddenly, a stifled laughter was heard from his side. Enamor the world? Isn't that phrase used to describe a courtesan? Dong Fei Ran's expression changed drastically as he shot a sharp gaze toward the white-robed young girl sitting quietly there. He then asked grimly, "What did you just say?" Ru Yue smirked as she placed the teacup in her hand down casually. She then turned her head to the charming man by her side. With raised brows, she asked, "Husband, did I say anything wrong?" The word husband pierced through Yi Wuchen's heart. His purple eyes became gentle and with a smirk, he replied charmingly, "Whatever my wife says is right. If you say she is a courtesan, then she is, although I don't think she has the qualification to be a courtesan with that kind of appearance. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 416, Forced Marriage Part 2. Chapter 416, Forced Marriage Part 2. Dong Fei Ran was so enraged that his body shuddered. His expression turned ashen. He suppressed his anger and asked in a heavy tone, "Wuchen, don't you think your wife is too much? My daughter is a maiden, yet she was insulted by saying she is a courtesan. How is my daughter going to marry now? You must take responsibility for my daughter due to this matter." He was frustrated at having no chance in marrying his daughter to the man, so now that there was a perfect chance, how could he give it up? On this continent, a girl's reputation was severely important. If she were to be humiliated to such an extent, then the man must give some kind of compensation. Responsible? What should I be responsible of? Yi Wuchen's slender finger touched the rim of his teacup. He chuckled, but there wasn't any warmth in his smile. His demeanor was sinister and cold, as though he had just arrived from hell as he commented, "You were the one that said her appearance able to enamor the world. Aren't you describing your daughter as a courtesan? It was highly inappropriate for you to use enamor to describe her appearance." Dong Fei Ran's eyes darkened. It seems it won't be easy to hook onto Yi Wuchen. I must come up with other plans. Daddy, who are they? Dong Ling Er's gaze shifted to Yi Wuchen. Her eyes gave off a naive light, as though she didn't know about the affairs of the world. This mister is Yi Wuchen. Dong Fei Ran then sighed and continued to introduce, and this is his wife. Dong Ling Er blinked her large eyes. She had an adorable smile on her refined face. When she smiled, it exposed two of her canine teeth, which made her appearance look increasingly bright and beautiful. You are Yi Wu Chen, the one who has been rumored around a lot recently? You said I am a courtesan? What is a courtesan? Are you praising that I look really pretty? Put. When the guests heard that, they all tried their best to suppress their laughter. They didn't know if Dong Ling Er was really that naive and innocent or if she were pretending. If she was, then she was a great actress. Yi Wu Chen, you look really handsome. Can I call you elder brother Wu Chen? Dong Ling Er didn't see that the man's expression had darkened as she giggled innocently. Yi Wu Chen clenched his fist as his handsome face turned ashen. He couldn't help but yell out in fury, "Scram!" That word "scram" made Dong Ling Er stunned. With glistening tears in her eyes, she bit her lip and looked pitifully at Yi Wu Chen. Wah! Dong Ling Er suddenly dashed toward Dong Fei Ran and leaped up into his embrace as she said, sobbing, "Daddy, he yelled at me." Don't cry, Ling Er. Daddy will avenge you in a bit. Dong Fei Ran patted Dong Ling Er's shoulder as he consoled her as though no one was around. What's yours will be yours. Don't worry. Daddy won't let you down. Dong Fei Ran heaved a sigh of relief after saying that. It seemed his daughter still had good feelings for Yi Wu Chen. He was relieved then. He thought that in the end, if his daughter was unwilling to marry Yi Wu Chen, then he couldn't force her. Dong Ling Er nodded slightly as she turned her head toward Yi Wu Chen as she curled up into Dong Fei Ran's embrace. That elder brother was so gentle just before. Why is he so fierce toward me? I really don't know what I did so wrong that it would make him so furious. Yi Wu Chen didn't give her another look and just turned toward Ru Yue. With gentleness in his purple eyes, he offered, "Mu Er, the tea is cold. I will help you change for another cup in a while." All right. Mu Er, you should be tired after the last few days. Do you want me to massage your leg? Yi Wu Chen's large hand landed on her leg as he gently massaged it and asked, "Is my strength all right? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 417, Forced Marriage Part 3. Chapter 417, Forced Marriage Part 3. MHM. A bit to the left. A little more to the left. Yi Wu Chen, where are you touching? My wife, didn't you say to move further to the left? Yi Wu Chen looked pitifully at Ru Yue, feeling wronged. A trace of peculiar light of ray flashed in his purple eyes. Ru Yue's body seemed to have been set ablaze from her fury. I didn't tell you to move so far to the left. This bastard must be doing it deliberately. Seeing the noble and charming man expressing an apologetic smile to the white-robed girl, everyone couldn't help but be stupefied. No matter if it was the outside world or the central region, men held more authority over women. Men married wives for them to serve them. Why did it feel as though the role had changed today? Dong Fei Ran's expression became increasingly unpleasant as he watched those two being lovey-dovey as though they were in their own world. It was obvious that they didn't place any importance on them. Daddy, why is that auntie making elder brother massage her leg? Is it due to her being too old? Dong Ling Er giggled adorably. With her large sparkling eyes brimmed with elation, she commented, Ling Er is just 15 and is still very young, so she doesn't need people to massage Ling Er. Once she said that, several dagger-like glares shot toward Dong Ling Er. It was unknown who chuckled in the crowd as she commented, the eldest young mistress of the city lord manor is really pampered and naive. Your previous words was as though anyone older than her will be a granny. What is so great to be 15? Eldest young mistress of the city lord, it isn't something that you can attract people's affection to you. I really don't know if you are being straightforward or are you purposely saying it to mock people. There were several young ladies at the prime of her youth at this event. Dong Ling Er's words had generally mocked all of them. The girl by Yi Wuchen's side looked at most 19. Moreover, she looked youthful and beautiful. If she was old, how were they? Wu Chen. Mu Ruyu's brow rose as she held Yi Wuchen's hand. She then shook her head slightly. She is just a kid. You don't need to care about her. Yi Wuchen gradually suppressed his killing intents as he heard the girl's indifferent voice. Yet, sinister ray of lights were still emitted in his purple eyes, lowering the temperature in his surrounding. Mu Ruyu tasted the tea before her as she spread her mental powers outward, gradually covering the entire city lord manor. Yet, she still didn't find that person. Can it be that Lan Yu isn't here? Have I guessed wrongly? However, she didn't relax her wariness. If there was someone at the back helping Lan Yu, that person mustn't be belittled. Mu Er, the tea in this city lord manor is rather good. A trace of light flashed in Yi Wuchen's purple eyes as he said in a casual tone. Dong Fei Ran's heart skipped a beat when he heard the two words rather good while he stared at Yi Wuchen. Did he found something out or did he just commented casually? No matter what, he was already under his control after he drank it. Wuchen, what's wrong? Mu Ruyu shifted her head toward Yi Wuchen. She then asked caringly with her brows frowning after she saw his slightly pale face. I'm all right. It is just that I am a little lightheaded. Yi Wuchen shook his head. His eyes looked a little dull in his charming purple eyes, losing its original color. Seeing that the drug had reacted, Dong Fei Ran was elated. He then said, "Ha! Mr. Wu Chen, the tea of our city lord manor is definitely good. It's just that you hadn't tasted such tea. I've something to trouble Mr. No matter if it was my daughter's appearance and personality, they are outstanding. Thus, I plan to marry her to Mr. I will pick an auspicious date for you two to marry, but if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 418, Forced Marriage Part 4. Chapter 418, Forced Marriage Part 4. Can this be counted as a forced marriage, with the person being forced being my husband? Mu Ruyu's brows rose as she looked at Dong Fei Ran with a fake smile. City Lord, do you think that I as his wife am a dead person? Humph. Dong Fei Ran's expression darkened. With a cold smile, he replied, You don't have a say in this. Do you believe that once I tell him to divorce you, he would divorce you and marry my daughter? This woman dared to insult his precious daughter. How could he stand it? His daughter was a pearl he had nurtured in his hand. When had he ever chided her before? More importantly, she had actually been humiliated and called a courtesan. Daddy! Dong Ling Er excitedly hooked her arm around Dong Fei Ran's neck as she asked naively and innocently, You're saying this elder brother will play with me and make that annoying auntie go away? Of course. Dong Fei Ran's gaze softened as he said, If Ling Er is willing, he can stay here forever to accompany you. Moreover, he will solely play with you. Really? Dong Ling Er clapped her hands and jumped as she said excitedly, That will really be too great. Daddy, didn't you say that elder brother Wu Chen is really powerful? He surely will be able to play fun and interesting games with Ling Er. In order to make Dong Ling Er interested in a man she hadn't met, Dong Fei Ran did his utmost best to praise Yi Wuchen before they met. Thus, she was greatly interested in him even though it was just their first meeting. Mu Ruyu lowered her gaze to look at the tea that Yi Wuchen tasted. She then commented coldly, Puppet poison? The person that can get such a poison mustn't be a small character. City Lord, if I hadn't guessed it right, this poison isn't yours. Was the person that gave you this poison a girl with blue eyes? How did you know that? Dong Fei Ran was startled before he immediately realized he had spilled the beans. He then hastily shut his mouth. I initially didn't know her purpose. Mu Yu slowly shifted her gaze to Dong Fei Ran. I at least have a gist as to her purpose now. Ha ha. It won't hurt to tell you now as it will be useless to you. Dong Fei Ran burst out laughing. Lady Lan Yu instructed us to obtain an item from him. As for what thing, we aren't clear about that. As repayment, she will give this man to us. Once the city lord manor has him, we won't fear being annihilated in the future. An item? Mu Yu's gaze shifted to Yi Wu Chen. What did Lan Yu want from him? Yi Wu Chen, kill the girl beside you. Dong Fei Ran sniggered mercilessly. With a ruthless gaze, he continued, Lady Lan Yu told us that once he personally kills you, he will forget all of his past and become my puppet. Everyone looked astonished at Dong Fei Ran. He was really ruthless. The couple was deeply in love with each other. It would be bad enough to break their relationship, but now he wanted to control Yi Wu Chen to kill his beloved wife. Once he regained control, how much agony would he suffer? The man raised his hand under the crowd's gaze. A large purple sword appeared in his hand. The purple sword was exceptionally noble. It looked incredibly domineering. When the man grasped the handle of the long sword, it made his purple robe flutter without the assistance of the wind. His handsome and charming face was emotionless, and even his pair of purple eyes seemed tremendously gloomy. Boom! A sword aura was shot out. However, its target wasn't Mu Yu, but the roof beam above. Ah! A scream was suddenly heard as the crowd saw a figure in blue robes fall from the roof, landing within the crowd. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 419, Who is the Real Senior Yu? Part 1. Chapter 419, Who is the Real Senior Yu? Part 1. Lan Yu exclaimed as she landed in the center of the crowd. When she felt the gazes shot toward her, her face flushed. She raised her sight and was met with a pair of sinister eyes. Where in those purple eyes did he show any signs of being controlled? It was so cold that her heart sank as well. No! This is impossible. Why? Why isn't the puppet poison working? Dong Fei Ran was similarly shocked as he was clear he had drugged that tea with the poison. Yet, it hadn't worked even after Yi Wu Chen consumed it. How could this have happened? His expression turned grim as raging waves glimmering in his eyes. Are you wondering why Ben Wang wasn't poisoned? Yi Wu Chen smirked and, with a sinister grin, continued, You wish to control Ben Wang with such a puny puppet poison. Aren't you all overestimating yourselves? Don't forget, Ben Wang's wife is an alchemist. They both knew that the tea before them was poisoned from the start. Furthermore, when Yi Wu Chen massaged Mu Yu's leg, it hadn't been due to them being lovey-dovey. It was instead a disguise for Mu Yu to secretly pass the antidote pill into his hand. It was just a little puppet poison. How could it fool them? Yi Wu Chen smirked as he shot a sinister gaze toward the pale Lan Yu. His acting hadn't been wasted as it managed to lure this woman into appearing. Why? You were clearly unaffected by the poison. Why did you lie to us? Lan Yu's expression changed drastically. She no longer had her usual elegance as she yelled furiously. I shall explain that. Mu Yu looked at Lan Yu. With a calm expression, she explained, You purposely hid your presence so I failed to find you after surveying the room. Hence, I made Yi Wu Chen to pretend he had fallen for your setup. Once he was trapped, your heartbeat wouldn't stay steady and that allowed us to discover your location. Moreover, it would have been impossible for Lan Yu to truly hide her presence with her current cultivation. She must have a treasure on her. Lan Yu's expression gradually darkened. She knew she had lost and it was a complete defeat. No matter how one saw it, she was incomparable to this girl. It was the same result of failure once again. She chuckled bitterly. With a frosty smile, she shot a sharp gaze at Ru Yue and commented, "Even if you found it out, do you think you can relax now? Stop dreaming. There is an unexpected expert in the dark plotting against you." An unexpected expert, Mu Yue and Yi Wu Chen's gazes intertwined as their gazes darkened. It seemed that Lan Yu wasn't the main antagonist, as there were still people behind her. "Tell me. What is your goal?" Mu Yue looked coldly at the girl on the ground, a layer of ice in her gaze. Lan Yu sniggered before she gradually closed her eyes. She then opened it after a long time and explained, "This plan had failed, so it wouldn't matter if I tell you about it. I want Yi Wu Chen's innate energy. This can only be obtained by dual cultivation. Moreover, that eldest young mistress is the best candidate." It was a pity that the plan failed in the end. Ha ha. She could only accomplish that other matter with the man's innate energy. It seemed she had to retreat now and wait for another opportunity. "Lady Lan Yu, what do you mean by that?" Dong Fei Ran looked flabbergasted at Lan Yu as he asked, startled. Lan Yu sniggered. "Lord City Lord, I am really sorry for using you. The so-called natural essence is indeed something I had fabricated. But I didn't have any other alternative to accomplish my goals." Teaser. Lan Yu exclaimed as she landed in the center of the crowd. When she felt the gazes shot toward her, her face flushed. She raised her sight and was met with a pair of sinister eyes. Where in those purple eyes did he show any signs of being controlled? It was so cold that her heart sank as well. "No. This is impossible." "Mickey, there's nothing impossible in a fantasy world though," tongue sticking out. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 420, Who is the Real Senior You? Part 2. Chapter 420, Who is the Real Senior You? Part 2. This damnable girl dared to lie to me, the city lord. If it wasn't for me knowing that I'm not her match, I would have probably killed her in one strike. Yi Wu Chen's brows rose, making the pattern on his face look lively. It looked so charming that it took people's breath away. This man was always good looking, no matter what expression he had. Even Lan Yu couldn't deny that he was indeed a rare handsome man. Not even Feng Jing Tian's appearance could match up to his. It was no wonder that person would love this man. No matter if it were this man's appearance or aura, it was sufficient to make girls craze for him. The man raised his sword and the purple dragon pattern on the sword seemed to come alive. Boom! An enormous dragon charged toward Lan Yu with its mouth wide open. Ah! A heart-rending yell was heard. Lan Yu's head rolled from her neck and landed to the side of Dong Ling Er's leg. Instantly, Dong Ling Er's complexion paled and she fainted with a shriek. Dong Fei Ran didn't have time to care about Dong Ling Er as he looked astonishingly at the man. What cultivation was Lady Lan Yu? She was a person at the Xiantian full circle realm. Yet, she was killed instantly. What cultivation level had this man reached? A realm higher than the Xiantian full circle realm would be the mystic realm. The other guests weren't able to continue eating as they hid in a corner. They were afraid that they would provoke this Azura-like, powerful and noble man. Yet, a strange phenomena happened. Lan Yu's corpse that was lying on the ground turned into a green smoke and gradually dissipated before the crowd's gazes. Seeing this, Yi Wu Chen's expression darkened. With a cold smile, he commented, "A clone. It seems Lan Yu isn't that brainless after all. She used a clone to deal with us." Cloning technique? Ru Yue's brows rose. She pondered for a moment before she asked, "Wu Chen, don't you feel that this cloning technique feels really familiar? There is a person in my memory that knows this technique." After hearing Ru Yue's words, Yi Wu Chen's brows creased slightly. He remained silent for a while before a flicker of light shone in his purple eyes. He then yelled, "Nangong Zi Feng." Even though he only had fragments of his past, Yi Wuchen felt that this was related to Nangong Zifeng. Nangong Zifeng? Mu Yue turned her head to him and with a slight frown, she commented, "Didn't she die? Can it be? Since Nangong Zifeng possessed a body once, it would mean that she could do it a second time. She was too careless that day and allowed that disastrous person to live. Mu Er, let's leave that matter aside first." Yi Wuchen smirked as he looked smilingly at the pale Dong Fei Ran and said, "I remembered that someone previously wanted Ben Wang to personally kill Mu Er?" Boom. A tyrannical aura burst forth from the handsome man's body as his purple robes fluttered violently with wind. Yi Wuchen then walked toward Dong Fei Ran. As he walked over, an intense pressure was emitted from his body. Dong Fei Ran felt that his breath had stagnated as he looked astonished at the handsome man before him. No! A shriek was heard in the city lord manor that night. That yell disrupted the night's tranquility. Following that, when the night recovered its peace, it was so quiet that not a single billow could be heard. Yi Wuchen withdrew his blood-stained sword as he turned around to look at Mu Yue. With a charming smile, he said, "Mu Er, let's go. There isn't a need to stay at this place." Every dragon had its reverse scale. To Yi Wuchen, Mu Yue would always be his reverse scale, for the rest of their life and for all eternity. Damn it! My clone was killed. Lan Yu's expression changed drastically within a room. Teaser. This damnable girl dared to lie to me, the city lord. If it wasn't for me knowing that I'm not her match, I would have probably killed her in one strike. Yi Wuchen's brows rose, making the pattern on his face look lively. It looked so charming that it took people's breath away. This man was always good looking, no matter what expression he had. Mickey, of course, if not, how can he be Mickey's favorite male lead as she loves Bishounen? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 421, Who is the Real Senior You? Part 3. Chapter 421, Who is the Real Senior You? Part 3. That clone had been a part of her. She had to be impregnated and use the fetus to form that clone. Thus, she used up her virginity and child for that clone, but it was killed. It had been akin to her child that she had raised only for it to be killed. Lan Yu felt her heart brimming with anger. She said through gritted teeth, "Mu Yue and Yi Wuchen, Lan Yu, will definitely make you pay the price." Suddenly, a slim and vague figure appeared before her. The girl's appearance was hazy and couldn't be seen. It was as though a layer of fog was covering it. Only the hair on her shoulders could be seen. Master, Lan Yu was startled as she looked apprehensively at the slim figure. The woman's voice was so strict that it could make a person feel a freezing chill run through them as she said, "Lan Yu, have you forgotten what I said? You are forbidden to do anything to him. Furthermore, you were delusional to try and stick a woman to him and even want to send that girl to his bed. Did you forget my first instruction?" But I need his innate energy," Lan Yu quailed as she said timidly. Slap. A slap landed on her face. Momentarily, a red handprint appeared. Lan Yu bit her lips and didn't rebuke further. You cannot use his innate energy. You can use a baby instead to substitute. Even though the effect isn't as great, it would still be enough for you to steal her soul. Remember that it must be a newborn baby. You must drain its blood while it is still alive. It is useless to use the blood of a dead baby, thus, you mustn't kill the baby and instead drain its blood while it lives. After draining the blood, you are to drink its blood. This will allow you to fuse her soul with yours. A live baby? Lan Yu looked astonished at the slim figure. She asked with a shaken voice, "Isn't that too ruthless?" "It won't be as ruthless as killing it cleanly." "Must I really drain its blood while it is still alive?" Lan Yu's hands were already stained with blood, but it was still too ruthless for her to drain the blood of a newborn baby alive. Have you forgotten what I said? The girl sniggered. You must use any means available to you to achieve your goal. It doesn't matter even if you sacrifice several innocent people. Don't mention a baby, so what if it were 100? If you want to make Feng Jing Tian regret and make Ru Yue suffer, you must do as I say. Furthermore, why do you think Feng Jing Tian likes her? Isn't it just her tyrannical innate power? If you devour her soul, you will inherit her mental power. When you have her power, how could Feng Jing Tian not kneel before you asking for your forgiveness? Lan Yu's body shuddered. She gradually closed her eyes and visualized the scene of Feng Jing Tian kneeling willingly before her. She opened her eyes abruptly. Master, I will do it. What Master said is right. You must use any means available to achieve your goal. So what if I kill a live baby? I am willing to do anything to make Feng Jing Tian regret. Once I devour Ru Yue's soul, I will replace her and become Senior Yu. Thinking about that scene, Lan Yu couldn't help but be stirred up. Of course, this would definitely still be a really long way to go. Suddenly, footsteps could be heard outside the door. Lan Yu became alarmed and paled. When she shifted her gaze, she saw that the slim figure had already disappeared. She slowly heaved a sigh of relief. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 422, Who is the Real Senior Yu? Part 4. Chapter 422, Who is the Real Senior Yu? Part 4. Lady Lan Yu, it is me. Qi Rong's elderly voice was heard. Lan Yu fixed her bearing before she said calmly, "Come in." Creak. The door was pushed open and an embroidered gown came in from outside. Following that, Qi Rong's elderly face entered Lan Yu's blue eyes. Seeing Qi Rong who had suddenly appeared, Lan Yu was slightly annoyed but didn't express it. Qi Rong, it is perfect that you came. I've a matter that I need your help with. What is it? Qi Rong frowned and looked curiously at her. It's like this. Due to my rebirth, it led to my mental power being not as great as before. You should know that I hadn't stopped my martial training, but I am still unable to refine pills. But there is a way for me to recover my mental powers. Qi Rong's breath tightened as she looked jubilantly at Lan Yu. At this moment, she tossed the question she wanted to ask to the back of her mind. She then asked anxiously, what's the method? Hadn't she waited so many days for this moment? Once Lan Yu's powers recovered, it would definitely be good to the academy. I am still missing an item. Glimmers danced in Lan Yu's eyes before she said with a smile. Qi Rong chuckled. Lady Lan Yu, you just need to tell me what you need. If I can help with it, I will definitely assist with all my might. Actually, it isn't much. I'm just missing a soul and that soul is within the academy. Hence, I am wondering if Senior Qi Rong can gather all the disciples of the manor tomorrow. Soul? Qi Rong looked shocked at Lan Yu. Lady Lan Yu, what do you mean by that? In order to replenish my mental powers, I must start from the soul. Senior Qi Rong, don't worry, I won't give trouble to your academy. I just need to insert an animal spirit into her body after absorbing her soul. Who would be able to see that? Senior Qi Rong knows how to weigh the odds and should be clear that once I succeed, I might be able to give Senior a mundane stage peak rank pill. It was incredibly tempting to Qi Rong to obtain a mundane stage peak rank pill. She hardened her heart and said, Lady Lan Yu, you just have to choose tomorrow. I will send the chosen person to you then. Perhaps Qi Rong previously played by the academy's rules, but greed was everyone's illness. People could do crazy things for benefits. Alright, I will need a couple of Xiantian high-rank experts to protect me while I do that. Senior can just pick them from some of the elders of the academy. You must leak this plan out to anyone. Lan Yu sniggered. Ru Yue, your death day is nearing. I wonder what kind of expression Feng Jing Tian will have once I devour your soul. I am really looking forward to that day. In the academy's public square, several disciples were looking at each other. They were clueless as to why they were gathered. They then looked curiously at the stage and discussed quietly amongst themselves. Wu Chen. Mu Yue clearly felt that the aura of the man beside her was gradually increasing. With a slight rise of her eyebrows, she held his hand gently before turning her gaze to the blue figure on the stage. Lan Yu. She is finally using her own body this time. But Lan Yu seemed to have used some kind of external force to increase her strength, so she can't continue to break through. She will probably stay at the Xiantian full circle realm her entire life. Mu Yue smirked as a dark light flashed in her eyes. She wouldn't give her any more chances of escape. Shi Rong coughed to clear her throat before she announced, "Everyone, I gathered you today for a matter. I hope that everyone can remain silent as you hear what I say. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 423, Who is the Real Senior You? Part 5. Chapter 423, Who is the Real Senior You? Part 5. The crowd quieted instantly. Everyone looked at Shi Rong with curiosity. Once the clamoring died down, Shi Rong said with smile, "I've assembled everyone here today to pick a disciple to help Lady Lan Yu with a matter. The academy will definitely not mistreat her after helping her." Helping her? Mu Yue frowned as she had a feeling this matter was about her. Lady Lan Yu. Shi Rong turned toward Lan Yu and continued, smiling, "You can pick a person now." Swish. Countless gazes landed on Lan Yu at the moment. In their gazes, there was both anticipation and nervousness. If those people knew what Lan Yu wanted to do, they probably wouldn't have such gazes. Lan Yu's gaze swept the densely packed crowd before her sight landed on Mu Yue. She then smiled. Her gentle smile was like the spring wind, giving people a soothing feeling. Horror. Shi Rong frowned as she looked at Mu Yue. That girl should be the talent Luo Yin had mentioned. Mu Er. Wu Chen's gaze chilled as he held Mu Yue's hand firmly. His entire body's aura surged forth as he shot a sinister gaze at Lan Yu. Lan Yu felt it difficult to breathe as she paled after being locked on by Wu Chen. "Wu Chen, I will be fine." Mu Yue shook her head. "Don't worry. Lan Yu won't be able to do anything to me as I don't want to die. Mu Er. Don't forget. I still have the Alchemy Book." Looking at the girl's relaxed smile, Wu Chen's heart calmed down gradually. How could he forget that the Alchemy Book was in her possession? It was her final trump card. "Even though it is like that, I still worry for you." Wu Chen's brows rose as he continued, "I will go with you." "You can't." Lan Yu smiled and a ray of light flashed in her eyes as she glanced at Wu Chen. "This matter cannot involve a man, so you can't come along." It was laughable if she let such a tyrannically powerful man come along. Wouldn't she be seeking trouble that way? And if I insist? Wu Chen narrowed his eyes and his aura surged forth again as he spoke in a heavy and low voice filled with boundless killing intent. "Wu Chen." Mu Yue looked at Wu Chen and said seriously, "I don't want to always hide behind your back. I mentioned this to you long ago." Wu Chen's aura gradually withdrew as he looked pitifully at Mu Yue and explained, "My wife, I'm just worried about your safety." "Don't fret. I will be fine. I can just hide in the Alchemy Book in the worst-case scenario." Mu Yue giggled. How could she dare to face Lan Yu by herself if she wasn't completely confident? Moreover, there was still that person behind her. Perhaps that woman herself was that person. "All right, I will wait for your return." Yi Wu-chen looked at the two on the stage. At that moment, his voice was charmingly sinister and reverberated throughout the public square as he said, "If anything bad were to happen to you, Ben Wang won't mind causing a bloodbath in the Central Region Academy and have all the disciples of the academy die with you." He said that purposely for Qi Rong to hear. If she met with danger, he would kill all the disciples of the academy to accompany her. Qi Rong looked flabbergasted at the man's handsome and sinister face. This man was more ruthless than her. He wouldn't mind killing everyone in the academy for a girl. It was great that Lan Yu had prepared well. It would be impossible for him to detect the exchange between Mu Ruyu's soul with an animal's soul at that time. Teaser. The crowd quieted instantly. Everyone looked at Qi Rong with curiosity. Once the clamoring died down, Qi Rong said with smile, "I've assembled everyone here today to pick a disciple to help Lady Lan Yu with a matter. The academy will definitely not mistreat her after helping her." Helping her? Mu Ruyu frowned as she had a feeling this matter was about her. "Mickey, it seems that you have resigned to your fate in facing bitches and problems. That's a good start," tongue sticking out. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 424, Who is the Real Senior Yu? Part 6. Chapter 424, Who is the Real Senior Yu? Part 6. Lu Oyin, Song Ran, and Fu Li were in a secret chamber as they waited impatiently. The door of the secret chamber was finally opened. What first came into their sight was the wrinkle-filled face of Qi Rong. When they shifted their gazes to the side, they saw Lan Yu, who was in a blue robe and had an elegant smile. Her eyes were as gentle as water with slight ripples in them. When they saw the white-robed young girl that came in after them, Lu Oyin was stunned. "Little girl, why are you here? What was this old granny Qi Rong up to again?" Mu Ruyu shrugged. She was clueless as them as to what Lan Yu wanted to do this time, but it definitely wouldn't be anything good. "Senior, what are you planning?" Lu Oyin frowned as he shot a dubious gaze toward Qi Rong. Qi Rong smiled and introduced, "Everyone, I will like to introduce someone to you. The lady beside me is Lan Yu. Moreover, she has an outstanding innate talent. More importantly, she is the reincarnation of Senior Yu." Once she said that, the entire secret chamber became quiet. Lu Oyin had heard this before, so he didn't express anything. On the other hand, Song Ran and Fu Li just knew it, so one of them was excited while the other was shocked. "Dean, what is going on?" Song Ran blinked his eyes in shock. If Lan Yu was Senior Yu, who was Mu Ruyu? Lu Oyin chuckled bitterly. Lan Yu was clearly an imposter, but Qi Rong was too obstinate. He couldn't make the obstinate Qi Rong change her mind with just words. "Senior Qi Rong, is what you said the truth?" Fu Li stood up abruptly. Excitement was expressed on his face. "This lady is Senior Yu, who was famous thousands of years ago? Am I dreaming? I must be dreaming. Definitely." Fu Li pinched his face. The pain made him understand that this wasn't a dream. Instantly, his breath tightened as he stared at the gentle water-like face. "Of course it is true." Qi Rong was really satisfied with Fu Li's response. She smiled and continued, "But something went wrong with her mental powers due to her rebirth. It resulted in the loss of her innate talent in alchemy, so she needs to consume a person's soul to regain her powers." At that instant, everyone's gazes shot to Mu Ruyu. Mu Ruyu still hadn't snapped out from her shock. She returned back to her senses from feeling those gazes. "Can I say something?" "Say it." Qi Rong was in a rare good mood, so with a raise of her brows, she said that. "Is the title of Senior Yu that nice to impersonate?" Mu Ruyu's expression was calm, but the mockery in her voice was obvious. Qi Rong's expression darkened. "Little girl, Lan Yu is indeed Senior Yu. This has been tested. I know that you can't believe this matter. Nobody will be able to believe that the peerless expert from 1,000 years ago is standing before you after all. However, it is a fact that she is senior you. Ru Yue was a little taken aback. Actually, she was still clueless as to what was happening. How did Lan Yu become senior you? If that was the case, why was Zifeng pestering her? What? Little girl, I am more willing to sacrifice you for senior you, giving your soul to her. Qi Rong chuckled. Her tone didn't allow any disagreement. Bang! Luoyin slammed his fist on the table and stood up. He then shot a furious gaze toward Qi Rong. Qi Rong, don't be too much. No matter if Lan Yu is really senior you or not, it is inexcusable to use other people's soul to increase her powers. Moreover, Ru Yue is the disciple of my academy. If this matter is to be spread, how can the academy continue to exist in the central region? If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 425, Who is the Real Senior You? Part 7. Chapter 425, Who is the Real Senior You? Part 7. Qi Rong seemed to have anticipated Luoyin's response, so she said casually, Luoyin, don't worry. I had thought it through. I will capture an animal's soul and insert it into her body. It definitely won't be discovered, nor would it lead to the downfall of the academy's reputation. Luoyin was stunned as he shot an unbelievable gaze at Qi Rong. When did his senior become so foreign? She was previously unreasonable, but she wouldn't do such sinful acts. What about now? She didn't mind hurting an innocent person for the greed of benefits. Moreover, that person was a disciple of the academy. If it were her in the past, she definitely wouldn't do such a thing. What in the world changed his senior? Luoyin, don't blame me for being ruthless. I don't have a choice. How glorious was the academy in the past? It was the top power in the central region. But currently, it has dropped a lot. If senior you were to return, why would our academy be under the medicine sect? I must do this for our academy. That's right, everything she did was for the Central Region Academy. She didn't care about anything else. She wouldn't regret sacrificing several people. Luoyin, do you think I wouldn't know even if the world doesn't? Our academy is indeed powerful in the eyes of the people in the Central Region, as it has a lot of connections with several powers. Moreover, with a summon, several powers would be willing to help us. However, if we are compared to the powers, we are only a drop in the ocean. If Senior Yu is around, this matter won't occur. I had enough of it. I can't stand the mockery of those powers, so I can't not do this. Luoyin's body shuddered. He closed his eyes slowly. When he reopened it, resolution filled it as he said, Qi Rong, I won't allow you to do it. Why? The reason is really simple. Ru Yue is the genuine Senior Yu. The secret chamber became pin-drop silent again for a short moment. Following that, laughters broke the tranquility. Qi Rong smirked mockingly and with disdain in her eyes, she said, Luoyin, I've said this before that such a lie is useless to me. If she is Senior Yu, who is Lady Lan Yu then? How can she be compared to Lady Ru Yue? Luoyin paused for a moment before he pointed furiously at Qi Rong. This matter can be determined by the ancestor. Ancestor? A stifled laughter was heard from his side. Fu Li chuckled coldly and with a mocking tone, he said, didn't you recently say that the ancestor entered closed-door training? They can't come out now, so you can say such words. If you are that capable, you can call them out. Ha ha. This damnable girl was finally going to die. He was really grateful to Lan Yu and Qi Rong for assisting him in avenging his disciple. Nobody would be blamed for this matter. It was all her bad luck for having a soul that she shouldn't have. Luo Yin's expression changed as a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He couldn't enter the back mountain now, so how could he report this to the ancestors? Qi Rong, I have a really simple reason. Luo Yin secretly gritted his teeth as he looked toward Qi Rong and commented, Senior Yu killed countless people and her hands were stained in blood, but she never killed an innocent person. All she killed were people that should be killed. However, Lan Yu wanted to kill an innocent person for her benefits. How can the real Senior Yu do that? With this point, it can prove that she isn't Senior Yu. Qi Rong was startled and became a little quiet. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 426, Who is the Real Senior Yu? Part 8. Chapter 426, Who is the Real Senior Yu? Part 8. What Luo Yin said was right. She had forgotten about this point from the start. No matter if the physical body changed, her soul would remain the same. The real Senior Yu would not harm any innocent person. What Lord Dean said is right. Lan Yu smiled gently. She then changed her gaze to Ru Yue. At that moment, cold killing intent surged in her blue eyes. I have a grudge with this woman, and it is an absolutely irreconcilable grudge. I chose her as, firstly, her soul matched my requirement. Secondly, she previously annihilated my entire family. Doesn't this count to have a grudge as deep as the ocean? What is wrong then to kill her? What I cared the most from my past and present lives is my family. I can die, but they can't die. But this woman took the lives of my Lan family when I wasn't home. Why should I let her keep her life then? Ru Yue ignored all of her words, excluding one of the statements. She shot a strange gaze to Lan Yu. She can die, but her family can't? At that time, who was it that abandoned her parents' life to escape once she was in danger? Moreover, she didn't tell them so that she can leave successfully. Why is she expressing such an emotion as though she cared about her family? If I didn't know about this, I will probably be fooled by her. I also know about this. Qi Rong nodded. Lan Yu's family had indeed been annihilated. Luo Yin, what do you have to say now? There is a phrase, if you don't court death, you won't die. She is seeking her own death. After hearing what Lan Yu said, the doubts in Qi Rong's heart vanished. Ru Yue wasn't innocent. There wasn't anything wrong with Lan Yu's actions. It was all due to Ru Yue's action. Lan Yu's tone was so similar to Senior Yu as well. Who else but her can be Senior Yu? That girl that annihilated another family for her benefits? Qi Rong smirked. Such a selfish and conceited girl dared to make Luo Yin help her impersonate the title of Senior Yu. It had to also see if she had the capability. Luo Yin's expression turned ashen. He glared angrily at Qi Rong. No matter what, I definitely won't allow you to do such an outrageous action. Qi Rong sniggered. This isn't up to you. About this, Fu Li chuckled sinisterly before looking at Ru Yue, who was at the side. He then said coldly, I have some words to say. Dean, you shouldn't care about this matter. Senior Yu needs to devour her soul to increase her mental powers. It is Ru Yue's fortune. In this case, she can become Senior Yu's power. It is an honor that several people hope to get. She can even reach the peak of cultivation with Senior Yu. How great would that be? With your words, you are hindering her from increasing her status. If you think about it, once she becomes one with Senior Yu's body, doesn't it mean she will have the same status as Senior Yu? Luo Yin laughed from being angered before he yelled in fury, Alright, Elder Fu Li, since you think so much about glory, how about you yourself be consumed by her? He. Fu Li chuckled dryly. I also wish to, but my soul doesn't match. What a joke. Only a fool would be willing to give his life away. Enough. All of you stop saying anything further. Shi Rong turned her gaze to Mu Ruyu and said in a strict tone, "You must be sacrificed for our academy. Don't worry. I will find another soul for you so your husband won't be lonely." Luoyin wanted to say something, but at this moment, there was a fluctuation in energy from the far back mountains. He instantly withdrew the anger on his face and exclaimed happily, "The ancestors have come out from closed-door training, but if you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 428, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 1. Note, Chapter 427 was a redundant note chapter by the author, so Mickey made it non-existent. Chapter 428, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 1. An astonishing power suddenly rushed over, making everyone stand up in shock as they looked astonishingly outside the room. Lan Yu's expression changed drastically and darkened. A cold ray of light flashed in her blue eyes. Why have those old fellows come out of closed-door training now? Didn't Master say that everything was going well? This is bad. Ha ha. Luoyin raised his head and laughed. He then glanced complacently at Shi Rong, who was at a loss, before walking briskly to greet them. The others looked at each other before following him out of the secret chamber. Two transparent figures stood in midair. One of them was in a red robe with a smile on his face. The other, on the other hand, had falcon-like eyes. He looked more strict compared to the former. It was undeniable that the two people's auras were tyrannical. It was so powerful that nobody could remain unstirred. "Luoyin, why didn't you come quickly to greet us?" The ash-gray robed man looked sharply at the tightly shut door and yelled coldly. After a while, the door opened. Luoyin, who was in a snow-white dean's uniform, came out and greeted respectfully, "My greetings to Ancestor Master Hongyun and Ancestor Master Huiying." "MHM." Huiying nodded emotionlessly. "Luoyin, where is the person I want to meet?" Luoyin raised his head and looked at Huiying before saying carefully, "Ancestor, there is a little matter that happened recently." "Stop talking nonsense." Huiying frowned and said strictly, "We don't have time to dally here for a long time. Quickly introduce the girl to us." Just as Luoyin wanted to speak, Shi Rong pulled Lan Yu along as she walked briskly over. With excitement in her eyes, she greeted, "This junior greets the two ancestor masters." Only the dean was able to meet with the ancestors in the entire academy. Even as the senior of the dean, she didn't qualify to meet them. Huiying's brows knitted increasingly as impatience was clearly seen in his eyes. Hongyun coughed dryly after he glanced at Huiying, who was about to erupt in fury. "You are Chi Rong? He. We don't have time to chat with you now." "That's right, Luoyin, where is Senior Yu? I wonder who is Senior Yu?" He surveyed the crowd as he talked. When he saw Mu Ruyu that came out last, he was startled. The girl's white robe was like snow, unblemished by dirt. Her fair skin emitted a faint glow under the sunlight. Her face was as though it was crafted. Her hair was let loose and fluttered behind her back. Her body was slender and perfect. Her hands by the side of her pair of legs were like jade. What was more shocking was the girl's grandeur. A faint coldness enclosed her surrounding. Her ink-black eyes was like deep water that captivates people's soul. But it was calm without a ripple. She was obviously just a Xiantian mid-rank expert, but her gaze was domineering as though she looked at the world with disdain. She was just like a aloof and remote monarch. Her grandeur was matchless. Similar. They are too similar. Hongyun took in a cold breath. No matter if it were her appearance or grandeur, she was identical to the girl from 1,000 years ago standing at the peak of the word. It was as though with just a glance, he could recognize the soul within her. "To the two ancestors, I know who is Senior Yu." Fu Li was elated as this was a rare chance to meet with the ancestors. How could he give such a chance up? Moreover, Fu Li shot an icy gaze at Ru Yue before he laughed. With the backings of the ancestors, Luo Yin wouldn't be able to protect her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 429, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 2. Chapter 429, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 2. Oh? Hong Yun looked at Fu Li as he said calmly, you know? That's right. Fu Li nodded. This Lady Lan Yu is the reincarnation of Senior Yu. Something went wrong with her mental powers, so she isn't as strong as previously. Now, we are trying to recover her mental strength. We just need a soul. When he said the last sentence, he shifted his gaze to Ru Yue. He then said coldly, this woman not only led the annihilation of Senior Yu's family, she is also unwilling to give her soul to Senior Yu. With Senior Yu's prestige status, it should be her blessing that her soul is looked heavily upon by Senior Yu. Yet, Ru Yue doesn't know what is good for her and didn't in the slightest think about the big picture. In Fu Li's point of view, everything should be done for the big picture, but Ru Yue just cared about her own benefits. More importantly, this woman allied with the dean to impersonate Senior Yu's famous title and is delusional in trying to fool the world. Fu Li smirked with his gaze sinisterly cold. Hong Yun's expression turned grim slowly. It was as dark as the calm before the storm. But in Fu Li's eyes, he thought that what he said was working and that the two ancestors won't let that woman off. You are Lan Yu? Hong Yun's gaze landed on Lan Yu. With a frown, he asked, what is your relationship with Zifeng, who had killed Senior Yu previously? Lan Yu's expression changed drastically as she looked astonished at the elderly face of Hong Yun. Ancestor, since you said someone killed Senior Yu, she must be the victim. Fu Li looked puzzled at Hong Yun as he frowned. At this moment, Qi Rong felt that something wasn't right, so she didn't continue to speak. Even she herself didn't know where this strange feeling was coming from. She felt that it wasn't as simple as what Fu Li was saying. Shut up. Hong Yun looked coldly at Fu Li. The happiness in his eyes gradually disappeared. He then shifted his head to the paled Lan Yu and snorted coldly as he continued, little girl, answer me. What is your relationship with Zifeng? I can feel that she forcefully increased your powers, making your strength increase to the Xiantian full circle realm from the 9th martial stage. But due to the sudden increase in power, it left a side effect. You will only be able to maintain your current cultivation for life and won't be able to improve any further. Every one of her secrets had been broken through by Hong Yun, and Lan Yu's body shuddered. She had indeed forcefully increased her powers, but Master told her that by consuming Ru Yue's soul, she would not only obtain her mental strength, she would be able to continue cultivating, so she had thought of several ways to obtain Ru Yue's soul. But it seemed that everything was going to fail. Lan Yu's body shivered. She didn't expect that just when she was one step away from succeeding, these old fellow came out. It was just one step. If Fu Li didn't understand now, he was really a fool. He looked shocked at Hong Yun's angered expression. His mind hadn't yet come around. What is happening? Didn't Senior Qi Rong say she was Senior Yu? What is with the current situation then? A Xiantian full circle expert in her 20s was impressive, as Ru Yue had only reached the Xiantian mid-rank. If it were a Xiantian full circle expert that forcefully used external force to increase her powers to the current cultivation and couldn't cultivate further, then it would be a different story. There was nothing in the world that could enable a person to rapidly gain powers without paying a price. Qi Rong shifted her head as she looked unbelievably at the pale Lan Yu. She understood everything at this moment as deep pain and sorrow filled her turbid eyes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 430, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 3. Chapter 430, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 3. Lan Yu, you lied to me? This woman dared to lie and use her. She gradually closed her eyes as her heart shuddered profusely. Who could have imagined the elation she felt when she found Senior Yu? But now? Everything she had done was just a big joke. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, Shi Rong raised her head and laughed. Her smile was filled with anger and killing intent, but more importantly, regret. She already had a falling out with Luo Yin for Lan Yu, but she turned out to be an imposter. What could be more tragic than this? Hui Ying looked emotionlessly at Lan Yu. With a trace of killing intent in his eyes, he gradually lifted his hand. Boom, dot. A power shot out and landed on the jade ring on Lan Yu's finger. Creak. The jade ring shattered into smithereens under the power. Suddenly, a long sword soared to the sky and stood before the crowd. The long sword is completely red. An enormous flaming dragon pattern spread from the tip of the sword to the handle. As the long dragon moved, a faint red glow was emitted from the dragon's body. It gradually set the entire sword ablaze, giving off a red light before the crowd's gazes. The long sword stayed in the sky, as though it was a mighty monarch looking down on the people in the world. When Mu Yu saw this sword, a strange nostalgic feeling surged from her heart. It was as though they knew each other. Damn it, dot. Lan Yu's expression changed drastically and she kicked off her toe to grip the heavenly dragon flame sword. When she was about to touch it, the sword dodged her as though it disdained her. Ding! The heavenly dragon flame sword cried out. Swish! It charged toward Mu Yu. A gale rose. With the red light shone on the girl's face, it enhanced her beauty. Her hair danced in the gale. She looked like a captivating demoness that instills fear. When the white robe and red light fused together, she looked peerless, devastatingly beautiful. The crowd was stunned as they looked amazed at the peerless beauty figure under the light of the fire. At that moment, everyone thought they were looking at that peerless expert from thousands of years ago. She wasn't like Lan Yu, who tried to pretend to be Senior Yu. She had an expert's grandeur that came from within her. This grandeur made everyone astonished. The girl's power wasn't strong at that moment, but nobody would dare call her weak. She might not be powerful now, but one day, she would reach the pinnacle of the world. Boom! A tyrannical power infiltrated Mu Yu's mind. She instantly felt as though she were about to explode. With her pale face and white robes fluttering in the gale, the sight was breathtaking. Contract! Shi Rong's expression changed as she exclaimed, "This is impossible." The heavenly dragon flame sword contracted with her. How can this happen? When Lan Yu possessed the heavenly dragon flame sword, Shi Rong knew that the sword didn't recognize Lan Yu as its master. Furthermore, Lan Yu explained that it was due to her mental powers being insufficient. She foolishly believed her. Currently, the heavenly dragon flame sword contracted with the other girl instead? The girl, Mu Yu, who she was sure to be the imposter? She had even wanted to extract her soul for Lan Yu so that Lan Yu could increase her powers. Shi Rong thought about something and her elderly body shuddered. Her eyes gradually widened as astonishment and despair filled it. Coincidence. It's just a coincidence. Shi Rong could only console herself by saying that now as the outcome would be undesirable. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 431, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 4. Chapter 431, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 4. Fu Li, who stood at his side, was so stupefied that he forgot to run away when he had the chance. He looked dazedly at Mu Yu, his mouth opened uselessly as he was speechless. Pain. At this moment, Mu Yu felt as though her entire body was being torn apart. The pain made her body shudder, but she bit her lips in order to not let any sound escape from her mouth. This feeling was as though a rampaging power were circulating through her meridians before it entered her dantian. Her dantian swelled from the gathering of this power. Ru Yue really suspected that her dantian would explode from being unable to absorb all of the power. When she reached her limit, the pain that felt as though her body were going to explode vanished. A soothing feeling replaced it. Boom! A tyrannical power surged out from the top of her head and circulated in the sky. When the crowd saw that power, they were stunned. She had broken through. She had directly broken through to the Xiantian high rank after contracting the heavenly dragon flame sword. Lan Yu retreated 2 steps with regret in her eyes. She really shouldn't have brought the heavenly dragon flame sword over. She thought that the jade ring would be able to seal its power, but she didn't expect that it would fall into her opponent's hands. But nothing could be done even if she regretted. This was all due to her terrible luck. Ancestor, glimmers flickered in Chiron's eyes. Just as she wanted to ask the 2 elders, she saw the 2 elders' eyes lit up as they looked at Ru Yue. There was even obvious excitement that could be seen in their eyes. That's right, it was indeed excitement. Even the cold-faced Huiying had excitement in his eyes. Senior Yu, Hong Yun looked at Ru Yue with grief. This brat Luoying said that you have come to the academy for a long time already. Why did you refuse to see us? We could only come out to see you then. Senior Yu, Chiron's expression stilled. She is Senior Yu? What have I done? I wanted to pass the genuine Senior Yu's soul to an imposter Senior Yu? Her elderly body shook tremendously. Chiron wished that her body's condition was worse so that she could faint. Fu Li was even more frightened compared to Chiron. His pale face looked at Ru Yue. Unprecedented regret filled his heart at this moment. He regretted taking in a disciple like Lin Ruoyin. More importantly, he regretted wanting to seek revenge on Ru Yue. Since she was Senior Yu, the entire Central Region Academy was her territory. Don't even speak about killing a person, even if she wanted to kill 100, nobody would dare to say anything about her. But what did they do in the end? Fu Li stiffly turned his head to look at Song Rant's expression before he smiled bitterly. From that old man's calm appearance, he probably already knew about this matter. He was the only one kept in the dark. You are looking for me? Ru Yue's brows rose before she shifted her gaze to Hong Yun and continued, but I don't remember who you are. Hong Yun's expression was as though he was on the verge of crying. Senior Yu, I am your loyal subordinate, Hong Yun. I only aged a little. I still have outstanding, free and easy attitude from 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years had passed. They had aged long ago, but she continued to look as beautiful as 1,000 years ago. Ru Yue shook her head. I don't know anything about my past. Are you looking for me for something? Actually, it is nothing major. Hong Yun chuckled. I just want to meet you and also wanted to know if Zi Huang is back by your side. Zi Huang? At this instant, everyone's gaze landed on Ru Yue, including Luoyin and Song Ran. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 432, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 5. Chapter 432, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 5. Senior Yu and Zi Huan was the divine couple from 1,000 years ago. Only she should know. Ru Yue replied with the raise of her brows, Wu Chen is currently within the academy, but... The girl's word was as gentle as the wind as it caressed everyone's ears. The crowd was stunned as they looked astonished at the girl. Yi Wu Chen? Did she just say that Zi Huang was Yi Wu Chen? If that was the case, then didn't Senior Yu and Zi Huang appear? If this information were to be circulated, how many people would be astonished? Oh. Hong Yun nodded and chuckled as he said, Senior Yu, there is a part of Zi Huang's powers at the back mountain of our academy. I will have to trouble Senior Yu to tell this to Zihuan so he could take back his power. We can't remain to stay here much longer and will have to return back to the back mountain soon. Please take care, Senior Yu. Moreover, Hongyan's expression became serious as he swept a cold gaze at the crowd. Nobody is permitted to spread whatever happened today. If I know who exposed Senior Yu's identity, they will be killed. The crowd's heart shuddered at the word killed. Senior Yu indeed had several allies in the central region, but there were even more people that were her enemies. There were some that wanted the treasures in her hands, so if her identity was to be exposed, she would be in grave danger. Her powers weren't sufficient at the moment and she wasn't the peerless expert of the Qijia region from 1,000 years ago. Before she could grow up, her identity mustn't be known to anyone else. Ancestor, don't worry. This junior understands. Luoying cupped his hand respectfully as he side-glanced the pale Qirong with complacency in his eyes. Hongyan nodded slightly and smiled with satisfaction. A breeze blew and the two figures in midair suddenly disappeared. It was as though nothing happened. The heavenly dragon sword gave out a call and rapidly flew into Mu Ruyu's hand. When Mu Ruyu shifted her gaze, cold killing intent shone in her eyes. Lan Yu. Mu Ruyu chuckled coldly. You shouldn't have teamed up with Zifeng and plotted against him. Lan Yu's body jolted as she gradually retreated. A gale blew and Mu Ruyu's hair danced violently in the gale. She raised her gaze and with an icy voice filled with killing intent, commanded, Heavenly Dragon Flame Sword. Roar! A dragon's roar filled the sky. An intense red light was emitted from the pattern on the sword. The entire eye turned completely red. Following that, they saw that the flame dragon on the heavenly dragon flame sword became alive and its enormous body left the sword. Boom! No! Lan Yu widened her eyes in fright as she yelled with all her might. However, the flame dragon didn't stop. With ruthlessness glimmering in its eyes that were emitting a red glow, it used its flame-coated body to strike against Lan Yu. Swish! Flames set her body ablaze. Her delicate body was sent flying and blood showered downward. Hot! The heat of the flames that coiled around her body made her expression distorted. It was a pain that penetrated deeply into the bone marrow. It was as though there would be no end to this suffering. Ha ha! She laughed brazenly from within the flames. Lan Yu raised her gaze to look cynically at the white-robed young girl who was standing against the wind. Mu Ruyu, I didn't lose to you this time. I lost to my luck. If those old fellows didn't come out in time, it would have been your death day. But I am not like you who was blessed by the god of fortune. Teaser. Senior Yu and Zihuan was the divine couple from 1,000 years ago. Only she should know. Mu Ruyu replied with the raise of her brows, Wu Chen is currently within the academy. The girl's word was as gentle as the wind as it caressed everyone's ears. The crowd was stunned as they looked astonished at the girl. Mickey, this scene somewhat reminded me of when Grandpa of Luffy in the anime One Piece reveals Luffy's papa to the crowd while he fixed a wooden wall that he had broken through when he wanted to make a cool entry, amazed face. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 433, Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 6. Chapter 433 Breakthrough to the Xiantian High Rank Part 6. That's right, in Lan Yu's point of view she had lost due to her bad luck. Lan Yu smirked gradually and sniggered as she said, Did you know that Feng Jing begged me to tell him my purpose for spreading the rumors before, and he even asked for me to stop hurting you? He reached the point where he even knelt before me. Mu Ruyu, I definitely won't let your relationships go smoothly. Everything that Feng Jing Tian does for you will always be a thorn in your heart and create misunderstandings in your relationship. Have you said your piece? Mu Ruyu suppressed her stirred-up heart before looking at Lan Yu. Her expression was as calm and collected as usual, not showing her actual feelings. It would be the best counterattack to a person like Lan Yu. Ru Yue, how can you be so unmoved? Lan Yu yelled crazily. Jing Tian, a guy that is so prideful, dropped his pride to kneel before me for you. How can you be unmoved? You are just a heartless person. He had seen you wrongly. Ru Yue looked indifferently at Lan Yu as she replied casually, I won't let your desires come through. You want to disrupt the relationship between Wu Chen and I by saying that, but it is a pity that it won't come true. So what if I was moved by Jing Tian? Wu Chen will not leave me due to that. It's destined that you would fail. How could anyone understand their pain-filled, bone-carved, and heart-engraved feelings when they finally stabilized their relationship? How could anyone know this if they didn't know of their past? Ru Yue admitted that she was moved. Yet, so what if she were moved by the enchanter-like man? No matter what others did for her, all of her love would only be for one man. Lan Yu laughed brazenly. Tears welled out from her eyes as she laughed. Ru Yue, I am indeed inferior to you in wisdom. I admit that I lost now. I definitely can't be unmoved in all situations. But Ru Yue could. No matter if it were being mocked as an impostor of Senior Yu and even as they wanted to extract her soul, there wasn't a trace of fear in that woman's eyes. All that stayed in her eyes was tranquility and confidence. Similarly, she wouldn't be stirred up by just the words of others. Lan Yu's body was cremated under the flames. When a breeze blew, her ash covered every corner of the academy. When the girl's gaze shot over to Fu Li, he shuddered vigorously. His power was similar to Lan Yu's. If she wanted to kill him, it would be similarly easy. Qiron's elderly face was twitching slightly. She still couldn't accept what had happened until now. Luoyin laughed heartily before he walked toward Ru Yue without even giving a glance at Qiron. He then said, Little girl, I give you my congratulations. Congrats! Ru Yue smiled at him, but when she put away the heavenly dragon flame sword, a wave of dizziness swept over. She just felt that her sight became fuzzy before her body collapsed toward the ground. Suddenly, a pair of hands embraced her. Wu Chen hugged the young girl tightly in his embrace before he exclaimed nervously, Mu Er. Ru Yue didn't give him any response and just laid silently in his embrace. Instantly, intense fury raged in Wu Chen's heart. With a sinister aura emitted from his purple eyes, he proclaimed, if something happens to Mu Er, Ben Wang will kill everyone in the academy for her. Boom! A tyrannical aura burst forth from his body, alarming Luoyin to the point that his body couldn't help but tremble. He looked timidly at Ru Yue and tried to salvage the situation by saying, she isn't hurt. Song Ran is an alchemist. How about letting him check her body's condition? If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 434, Brother and Sister Reunion Part 1. Chapter 434, Brother and Sister Reunion Part 1. Wu Chen withdrew his aura a little after hearing his words. He then held the hand of his beloved girl with anxiousness in his eyes. Song Ran walked forth shakily under his domineering aura. He then placed his finger on Ru Yue's pulse. He was stunned for a moment before he said jubilantly, Mr. Wu Chen, congratulations. The little girl is at 1 month pregnancy. Her body couldn't sustain itself after she previously used that immense amount of power. Wu Chen was startled. It was as though he couldn't believe his ears before jubilation filled his heart. He stared excitedly at the girl in his embrace. Mu Er is pregnant? Is she really? I have a child. Is this real? Am I dreaming? Wu Chen was on cloud 9 as his entire person became dazed. He no longer had his usual Azura-like atmosphere. At this moment, his purple eyes only contained the girl in his embrace. It was night and the moonlight was as gentle as water. Ru Yue gradually regained her consciousness, and what instantly entered her eyes was a pair of incredibly doting eyes. She was subconsciously stunned. What happened? Ru Yue touched her face as she looked puzzledly at the man. Mu Er. The man extended his arm to bring her into her embrace. His slender fingers caressed her hair. Ru Yue turned her head to the man beside her. She felt that the current sight was breathtaking, even though she had always been with him. When the moonlight shone on the man, his slender figures looked so superficial. It was as though his purple robes had a layer of silver muslin over them. The man had a divine appearance. His fair skin gave off a faint glow. The devil's snare pattern on his face looked lively when he smiled. There was nothing but deep emotion in his charmingly purple eyes. Wu Chen, what just happened to me? Ru Yue frowned as she asked that, massaging her temple. The man lowered his head to her tummy and gently caressed it as he explained, Mu Er, you are pregnant and is carrying our first child. Pregnant? Ru Yue was shocked before she looked down at her tummy. I don't know if it's a blessing or misfortune for him to come now. Wu Chen, there are still too many matters that we haven't settled yet. It would be a lie if she said she wasn't excited, as this was the fruit of their relationship. But Nandong Zifeng hadn't died yet, and there were too many worrying matters to settle. It really was uncertain if it were a blessing or misfortune for the child to come. No matter if it's a blessing or misfortune, Mu Er, I will be by your side. Wu Chen used his arm to push down gently on Ru Yue's body. He then smiled charmingly. But we have some important matters to do now. He then pushed the girl onto the bed. He lowered his gaze to look at the beauty beneath him. He momentarily felt his mouth and tongue become dry. Desire blazed within his body. You can't touch me before our child is born. Why? Your husband will be really careful. I'm afraid that you will corrupt him. Wu Chen was stunned before he burst out laughing. Mu Er, he won't even know what we are doing now. How can I corrupt him? I don't know why, but I've a feeling that our son isn't simple and knows what we are doing. Son? Wu Chen's brows rose as he queried, how do you know it will be a son? Instinct. She indeed had a feeling that the child in her womb was their son, and he would definitely not be simple. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 435, Brother and Sister Reunion Part 2. Chapter 435, Brother and Sister Reunion Part 2. Mu Er, you focus more on your son than me. Once you have a son, you won't want your husband anymore. Moreover, you are already so biased when our son hasn't even been born. How will you be once he is born? I don't care. I must be the top priority in your heart, and he must be the second. Rip. Wu Chen raised his hand to rip apart the girl's clothes. He looked and his mouth dried at the girl beneath him. His desires intensified drastically. Wu Chen. Ru Yue glared furiously at the man as she said his name through gritted teeth. My wife, I can't control myself any further, so if you want to punish your husband, do it after this. Your husband will let you do anything to him, be it punching, scolding, or punishing me to kneel over a washboard. The man sealed her lips with his after saying that, stopping her from continuing to speak. With a wave of his hand, the bed curtain was let down as he became one with his beloved girl. The moonlight also covered the elder's manor. Fu Li's face showed hesitation. He then stood up abruptly after a long time as a trace of a sinister light flickered in his eyes. No. I don't care so much anymore. The little girl would definitely not let him off after what he had done. He must lay his hand on her first. If he were to tell that power, they would definitely dispatch people to annihilate them. Little girl, don't blame me for being ruthless. You forced my hand. I will make you disappear for my survival. Fu Li sniggered as a trace of hatred flashed in his eyes. Is that so? An indifferent voice was heard that moment as it floated down from the sky. It alarmed Fu Li and he jumped up from his chair. Who is it? Fu Li surveyed nervously in his surrounding. When he looked at the sky, his pupil contracted. The unblemished white robe entered his sight. The white robe fluttered under the moonlight. She looked so clear as she floated with the black sky behind her. She stood in midair as she smiled. Only her ink-black eyes were frosty. It was obscure as to whether it was the moonlight being too cold or for other reasons, but the girl's surroundings seemed to be covered in a layer of frost. Fu Li widened his eyes in terror. His body couldn't help but shudder. Why are you here? Why, I am here to definitely, the girl chuckled and continued, eliminate future disasters. What you said just now wasn't bad. You can only kill others for your survival. Hence, I will have to sacrifice you so that I can live in this world. She definitely wouldn't let anyone threaten her. Fu Li's body shuddered as he retreated backward. He then accidentally crashed against the window screen, making it topple. Ru Yue looked coldly at Fu Li before she commanded indifferently, Yan Jin, I leave the future matters here to you. Suddenly, domineering laughter broke the tranquility of the night. A man in black stood quietly by Ru Yue's side. His eyes were as deep and domineering as the night sky as he looked disdainfully at the man before him. Little girl, you can pass this old man to this senior. He has done so many wrong things. It is about time to teach him a lesson. All right. Ru Yue turned around slowly and looked at the night sky as she said calmly, I don't want to see him alive.